Welcome back to Success with Steven. My name is Steven Smith. On this channel, we talk about all things financial literacy. And today we have one of my favorite type of videos. It's just a personal conversation. I'm not really explaining anything or talking about a particular topic. This is where I just kind of express some of the thoughts that I'm having. And it's not scripted or anything like that. It's just like a conversation between me and you guys. So with this video, I want to cover three things that have been on my mind that I feel like are very important. The three things that we're going to cover are, number one, how making money really works. And I mean that as like a double entendre, not only how you accumulate money, but also how money works, how you work for money. And the second thing I want to cover is why the stuff that we consume on a daily basis is really making us poor. The third thing I want to talk about is how money attracts money. And if you don't have money, there is a way for you to become money. That sounds very like metaphorical, but I actually do mean that. Like, I'm speaking figuratively when I'm saying that. And there is a way that you yourself can become money. And that's exactly what I did in the last, 3 years. I really became money. And you can do the exact same thing. This isn't a very difficult thing. It just takes a lot of discipline and it takes a lot of focus. Those are the two main things that I believe. But the most important thing that it takes is information. Information is always going to be the number one factor when it comes to creating wealth. I want to start by posing a question. Of course, rhetorical, right? Because you guys can't answer it. But who believes that to be successful, you have to outwork everyone? To some degree, I probably think that everyone believes that they have to outwork everyone else to be successful. And if you believe that you have to outwork everyone to be successful, do you believe that you work harder than the average person, or you work harder than most people? And I think the only way to answer that question like fairly is, first we need to define what work is, right? And in science, if you ever took, like a basic science course, they're going to tell you that work is energy that's transferred, and it's transferred from one object via the application of force. But we know that that's not really what I'm referring to. Let's look at it in time for a second. Some people will define hard work by the amount of time that they spend doing something. We use time in hours, minutes, and seconds so that we can actually comprehend what's going on. But in reality, like, that's just for us to understand a sequence of events in a linear fashion. The thing is, time is like forever flowing, and there really is no means to measure it at all. We just created a way that we can do it so that we understand sequences of events. That's really it. That's what time is. So what I'm trying to say is, if there's 24 hours in a day, if you're getting 8 hours of sleep, which you should, because that is what's recommended for your health, you may work 16 hours out the day. If you and me both work 16 hours a day, neither of us are working harder than the other person, right? So you can't outwork me if we're working the same output. Okay, cool. Well, then if that's the case, then what's hard work? Well, let's define hard work is effort. You're going to say that you're working harder than me. Well, that is, who knows who's working harder? That's subjective. Hard, like effort is subjective based off of how hard you think you're trying. I think that I work to the point where I'm going to fall out. And to me, that's maximum effort. For you, you may work till you faint, and that's maximum effort. But we can't really say. Again, it's subjective. If we both work the same amount of hours, then who's to say? But again, if you suggest working more hours than 16, then you're not going to get sufficient amounts of rest, and that can't make you a productive worker. So, that's not going to really help. So if it's not force, like in science, and it's not effort, what's hard work? Like, what is hard work really? If you have ever heard this phrase, asymmetry of information will always benefit the person that has symmetry. Some of you may have heard that. That statement, if you've ever heard it, is completely incorrect. Asymmetry of information means one party has more information than the other. So by definition, the person with the greater information, asymmetry, will benefit, not the person with symmetry, equal amount of information. What I'm trying to say is the person who possesses more information will generally benefit due to their ability to make a more informed decision. And potentially they can exploit other people who lack knowledge. To be successful, ultimately, you need to have more information. The hardest working person is rarely ever the most successful person because they lack the information to know that hard work is only, I would say, 1/3 of the equation. And I'll give you a few examples of what I mean. The way that information helped me become money. And I've said this so many times, and I think that people take it for granted. But when I had like no dollar to my name, just broke, the one thing I did have was my ability to retain information and my ability to learn. By me learning information, by me retaining information, I was able to acquire skills. There were people who had money, lots of money, but didn't have skills that paid me to do something. I became money because of the value that I created in myself. I became money as a person just based off of the information that I was able to retain. And then I was able to actually do something practical that gave value to me as a person, made me money. Hence, I became money even without having money. I attracted money based off of the things that I could do and the information that I acquired. All right. So that's number one. Number one, how making money really works. That's essentially how it works. And I have plenty of videos on this channel where I go into greater detail about exactly what that actually means. But that's why I like to tell people and I've said this so many times, they can't take away what you know. When you have information and you have skills, no one can take that away from you. And as long as you have that, you don't actually need money to create anything. You'll be able to go anywhere at all and create value. Essentially, it'd be like this. If the world just ran out of everything, we had like no technology, nothing. Who do you think would be appointed the leader of any group? A person who knows how to make a fire, who knows how to hunt, who knows how to cook, who knows how to clean infections, to distill water, to do things like that. That person with the most information would become the most valuable person ever because of what he knows. That person would be like, he'd have to be a leader because he could lead people to whatever it is that they wanted, whether it be survival or, this is an extreme, very extreme case, right? But I think you see my point. The point is, in order for you to become money, you have to be someone that can create it for others, which is why one of my main goals is to not just generate any sort of income for myself, but to create it for the people around me. And that's where I can become money. I attract money and I also give money out. And I think that's the best way that you can be. Now, number two that I think is really important is the stuff that you consume and why that stuff is making you poor. I cannot stress this enough. And that's the reason why I really try to make a little more content now like this about the psychology of money. And again, it's a relationship that I think that most of us have been taught to not really understand. And because we don't understand money, we get abused by it a lot because we don't understand the way that it works. And a lot of the ways that we get abused by money is by consuming things that we don't need or things that really, really do keep us very, very poor. And I'm going to explain this with a metaphor. Again, I know you guys can't answer my question, and a lot of the people on my channel are of a certain age, so you probably will get this get this metaphor. If you've seen The Matrix, which I hope most of you have, if you haven't, then you're not going to get this, but Google it if you haven't seen it. There's a woman in The Matrix, the woman in the red dress. When Neo was walking through the simulation and he was talking with Morpheus, Morpheus was explaining to him exactly what was going on in the simulation, but Neo got distracted and Morpheus asked him, like, are you paying attention or are you looking at the woman in the red dress? When Neo turned back to the woman in the red dress, it was an agent and she had a gun pointed in his face. In The Matrix, the woman in the red dress is designed to grab your attention, right? It's pulling focus away from what's important. It's pulling focus away from reality that's unfolding around you. Like in real time, reality is unfolding around you, and it's the symbol of distraction. It's something that looks enticing but hides the truth. Like that's the symbolism of the woman in the red dress. Being able to say no to the woman in the red dress changes at certain points of your life. And what I mean by this is why being able to be disciplined is super important. This is why I go to the gym every day and intentionally put myself through stress every day, training myself and conditioning myself to deal with hard situations on a daily basis. I do that. You need to condition yourself to go through pain and to work through it. That also helps you deal with frustration. That also helps you deal with stress. On top of other health benefits, the most important thing is it helps you work through all of the other things that are there in life to distract you. Okay? I think exercise helps you with so many things, but that's what I use it for conditioning my body and my mind. So I don't let myself get distracted by information that's not going to help me. I don't let myself get distracted by women, and not in the sense that I'm in a happy relationship. But what I'm saying is, like, I'm not actively trying to pursue multiple women, right? There's a distraction in that. I don't try to, I don't drink anymore. I don't smoke. I don't have any like particular vices that would, prohibit me from being able to produce at a high level. I no longer indulge in purchasing too many clothes, right? Because I'm not trying to impress anyone. The only person's opinion I care about is myself. I pay attention to what's going on in politics and the economy as a whole. And I pay attention to what's going on in the global economy, because paying attention to what's going on allows me to understand what's going to happen next, which gives a lot of opportunities to make a lot of money. I do that with the stock market and trading. Some people call this fundamentals, where you look at what's going on in the world to understand what's going to be impacted for opportunities to create wealth. This also can happen in real estate. So, I don't get distracted by things like that. But again, as you start to grow, you start to get certain points to basically, like the woman in the red dress takes different shapes. When you're young, it could be hanging out with your friends when you need to do some work at home. It could be, going out. It could be a relationship that may not actually benefit you in the long run. It could be all kind of things. As you get to a certain point, it could be a $100,000 offer to do something where it's going to take away money that you can make somewhere else that may be more fulfilling to you, but this you can get right now. It's turning down things that may be a distraction, even if they seem enticing at the moment. Discipline will help you with that. All right. And that's something that you need to understand. But the first thing before all of that, before you get those opportunities, before you start turning down six-figure offers and stuff like that, you have to get used to not being a consumer of debt. Like, and when I mean that, I don't mean like leveraging debt. I mean, a consumer of things that don't actually matter. Because if you consume, you'll never have enough to invest or grow your wealth. And that's just it's something that I feel like is very hard to get people to understand, because it's so soothing to spend money and buy things and purchase things that make you feel better temporarily. It's such a, it can be, it's like a dopamine hit that you get even from just scrolling on your phone. That's a distraction. But sometimes when life is hard, you can use a little bit of distraction to give you some peace. But even when it's hard, you got to go through the pain. It's something that you just have to learn how to deal with, and you learn to control it, and you learn to actually harness it to propel you to be more, to grow, And again, it's something that not everyone is going to want to do, but that's the reason why everyone can't do it. It's not easy, but it is something that you really do need in order for you to be successful and for you to become money. You need to be able to stop consuming anything that is a distraction or anything that's going to prevent you from getting to that next level. Becoming the person who turns down temptation and distraction is like building a muscle, right? You start with small things and it grows over time. And the other one is, which most people don't talk about, but it's learning how to say no. I think learning how to say no is one of the most useful skills that I have now, especially when it comes to living a more productive and healthy life. Learning how to say no is an absolute, you need to learn it. And the reason why that is important is because your words help to frame your sense of empowerment and control. Furthermore, the words that you use to create a feedback loop in your brain impact your future behaviors. And I'll give you an example of what I mean. Here's a good trick that I use. Instead of saying I can't do something, I always say I don't do something. So if someone asks me to borrow money, I never say I can't do it. I say I don't do it. And let me tell you what the difference is. I know it sounds like it's the exact same, but they're significantly different. And saying that you don't do something is significantly better than saying I can't. The phrase I don't is a psychologically empowering way to say no, while the phrase I can't is psychologically draining on the other hand, right? It's not a good way to say no. Like if you want to turn down, like let's say a particular type of food, you don't want to say, I can't eat that. You say I don't. When you say I don't sounds way more powerful and empowering than saying I can't, right? I can't sounds like it's restricting. I don't sounds like there's a reason behind it. But just trust me, they can provide, like I can't and I don't, they provide very different psychological feedbacks. And ultimately, they result in very different, completely different actions for the person who's saying them. They aren't just words and phrases. They are affirmations. And I'm sure you've heard the word affirmations a lot. It's what you believe. It's the reason for why you do what you do and reminders of where you want to go. And that's something that you need to always keep in mind when you're doing this. And for the final part of this, money attracts money. If you don't have it, then you need to become it. Some of you may or may not know of something called exposure therapy, but exposure therapy is a type of psychological treatment where a person like gradually exposes themselves to a situation or objects that cause them anxiety or that cause them fear. They don't feel, good about it. You want to expose yourself to it in a safe and controlled environment. The goal is to ultimately reduce the fear response. And the way that you reduce your fear response is by confronting anxieties instead of trying to avoid them. This is also used to treat like phobias and PTSD and all types of panic disorders. Most of us have this fear of failure. I don't know where it comes from, but it's like a fixed mindset that we seem to always be in. And it's a reflection of one's inherent capabilities. Rather than an opportunity for growth and learning and unknown outcomes, fear often stems from the unknown. So uncertainty of what might happen after a failure And that can sometimes be very intimidating, leading people to avoid taking risk altogether. I've been able to take $60,000 right around there. If you guys have been keeping up with that video where I was talking about trading, I earned the $60,000 from money that I got from YouTube and Shopify doing one-on-one coachings, things like that. Never spent the money. That's the discipline part. And the education part is because I knew what to do with that money when I think a lot of people wouldn't have known, even some very wealthy people. So what I did with $60,000, because of what I know and because of the education that I have embedded in myself, my risk tolerance is a lot higher than most people who could have had 10 times that. Like, so in this time frame, in my brokerage account, I'm already at $200,000. At this point, I made that video 0 to $100,000. I've already doubled that, and this is February of 2025. So the reason why I bring that up is I, at one point, only had a fear of a lot of the risk that I was taking because I didn't have understanding. So I couldn't become money if I was afraid to make money. I had to make sure that I understood exactly what it took to make money, get focused and disciplined. And then, of course, because I'm a valuable person by the skills that I've acquired, I was able to overcome my anxiety, overcome anything that was holding me back, and really use what I had become in order to make and attract more money. And I'm at the point where now, and you guys are going to see this soon, you're going to see how what I did attracted even more money with a partnership that I currently am doing right now. On top of that partnership, we're growing exponentially on this channel, and I'm already doing like 3 other things that I am planting seeds for in order to get off of YouTube, ultimately move on to my next venture that will put me in a situation where I'll have more free time to do the things that I love and still be able to create income, which is the ultimate goal for me. So when I say money attracts money, I'm not referring to a rich person. I'm really referring to what money represents. One has to work hard, and you have to work smart to earn money, especially to the degree of being wealthy. By definition, everyone in the world cannot be wealthy at the same time unless the word have no meaning, right? And if you combine the first 2 things that we discussed, you know what hard work actually means, you know how to control your temptation, and you know how to control your risk factors through education and honestly earning trust in yourself, then you'll be able to not only attract money, you'll be able to become money even if you don't have money. The more I expose myself to risk, the more I expose myself to failure, the more likely that I am to become the thing that I want. And I've done that so many times, even though it was painful, even though it was hard, and even though it made me really scared. A lot of the times I was still able to do that. And all of a sudden, you start to see some successes after a while. Like after you putting yourself through all of this grueling, like, I mean, it's so scary, but after you put yourself through it, you start to see all these opportunities. You start to have all of these successes, and you start opening yourself up to a world that you never thought. And the crazy part about it is the world never actually changed. Your mindset about how you saw the world is what ultimately changed. You're now attracting all the things that you've been searching for, even if you never had it to begin with. And thus money attracts money. And if you don't have it, you become it. So I really hope that this was helpful to you in some way. And at some point, I'm probably going to take all of these little personal conversations and transcribe them, and maybe I'll use it to write a book one day or something. So I can like take all of my thoughts and I can, put this in more of a like an orchestrated fashion. So I can give this to someone in like a guide or a manual. So we can actually make this make sense. It not just be like a free flow conscious thought. It'll actually be something where you have like a step by step process of what it takes. But even if I had that, I would want to wait until I actually got to the pinnacle of where I wanted to be at, and then I can go back and look on things like this, like these moments in time, and I can reflect on where my mindset was, where my thought process was at this milestone. And ultimately, I do believe that anyone can become money and attract money, and you don't need money to actually do it. I truly, truly believe that you just have to do these few things. And while they are very few things, I know ultimately you have to change the person you may currently be right now. And if you're willing to make that sacrifice in order to actually come out on the other side and become this brand new individual, I think that you'll be very, very pleased with all of the things that come with it, all of the successes, all of the opportunities. And just not only that, but when my ultimate goal is money being a tool, is to be able to have a sense of freedom to do what I want. I would love to wake up in the morning one day and not have to worry about analytics, not have to worry about a goal, not have to worry about a stock, not have to worry about a business, not have to worry about a Zoom meeting, a call, I would love to wake up and just say, hey, what do I want to create today? Do I want to lay in bed all day? If I earn that, do I want to just sleep all day? Do I want to go fly out here and do this? Maybe I want to make a movie. I guess what I'm saying is ultimately I want a sense of freedom that has to be earned to be able to do anything that I feel like I want to do and create freely without having to worry about that thing making me money necessarily. There's so many things I want to do that's to me much greater than what I'm currently doing now, and I can't wait to be able to pursue those things. But ultimately, I do know that in order to be able to do those things, I will need to get to a certain point where I'm stable, and the stability will come from the wealth that I accumulate. I just want to, make sure I mention that because I don't want it to be confused that money is this ultimate thing, and it's not that. It's the things that you can do once you have the security. You can then focus on what's most important to you, whether it be painting or whether it be whatever you're into, agriculture, whether it be going to the gun range, whatever your hobbies are, whatever brings you happiness. I would love that you could get to a certain financial standing that you can focus on doing the things that you care about, whether it makes money or doesn't make money. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I appreciate you indulging me in this long, drawn out conversation. And I am beyond, words if you've made it this far. Thank you guys so much for doing that. And you have a wonderful day.